7,000 miles. That's the distance American B-2 Spirit stealth bombers just flew from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri to strike Iranian nuclear facilities outside Natanz. Not 700 miles. Not from a carrier group in the Gulf. 7,000 miles. Over the Atlantic, across European airspace, through the eastern Mediterranean, into Iranian airspace. Weapons released, targets destroyed, and back home before Iranian air defense ever knew American bombers were inside their country. Total mission time, 34 hours. Iranian detection time, 0. Let me tell you why this changes everything about deterrence, escalation, and what Iran can actually do to defend itself. March 12, 2026, 0347 local time. 2 American B-2 Spirit stealth bombers released a total of 16 GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator bombs on hardened underground facilities at Iran's Natanz nuclear enrichment complex. Each bomb weighs 30,000 pounds. Each bomb is designed to penetrate 200 feet of reinforced concrete before detonation. The combined payload delivered on target 480,000 pounds of precision-guided munitions hitting structures that Iran spent 2 decades and billions of dollars building specifically to survive conventional airstrikes. The facilities are gone, not damaged, gone, penetrated, collapsed, buried under rubble that will take years to excavate, and the Iranian integrated air defense system that was supposed to prevent exactly this scenario never fired a single missile, because it never detected the bombers. The B-2 Spirit. Unit cost $2.2 billion per aircraft. The United States operates exactly 20 of them, all based at Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri. Range? 6,000 nautical miles unrefueled, effectively unlimited with aerial refueling. The mission profile for striking Iran required 4 mid-air refuelings with KC-135 tankers, taking on tens of thousands of pounds of fuel at 40,000 feet. Every refueling operation happened without Iranian intelligence having any idea American strategic bombers were heading toward their airspace. Here's the technical detail that makes the B-2 functionally invisible. The aircraft's radar cross-section, 0.0001 square meters, the size of a small bird. A B-52 has a radar cross-section of 100 square meters. The difference is a factor of 1 million. Iranian radars see the B-2 as electromagnetic noise. The return signal is too weak to distinguish from atmospheric clutter or background radiation. The bomber is there. The radar hits it. But automated threat systems classify the return as irrelevant and filter it out. The B-2 stealth is not just about radar cross-section. It's about thermal signature suppression, acoustic signature reduction, and electromagnetic emissions control. The engines are buried deep inside the wing structure with exhaust ports designed to mix hot exhaust gases with cool outside air before they exit the aircraft. That reduces the infrared signature that heat-seeking sensors would detect. The aircraft operates in complete radio silence during penetration missions. No communications, no radar emissions, no electronic signals of any kind that would give away its position. And the flight profile is optimized to avoid known radar coverage zones. Not by flying low and hiding behind terrain, by flying high enough that even if a radar detects something, the signal is too ambiguous to generate a weapons quality track. The GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator. Official designation, MOP. Weight, 30,000 pounds. Length, 20 feet. Penetration capability, over 200 feet of reinforced concrete or 100 feet of harder rock formations before detonation. This is not a bunker buster designed for typical hardened targets. This is a weapon designed specifically to destroy deeply buried nuclear facilities that were built to survive nuclear attack. The warhead contains 5,300 pounds of high explosive, not the total weight, the explosive content. When it detonates 200 feet underground, the blast generates a shock wave that propagates through rock and concrete, collapsing tunnels, destroying equipment, and rendering the facility permanently unusable. Iran's Natanz facility was designed with multiple redundant layers of protection, specifically to survive this kind of attack. It survived the attack in the sense that the surface structures are still standing. Everything underground is destroyed. Each B-2 can carry 8 GBU-57 weapons in its internal bomb bays. 2 bombers delivered 16 weapons. That's 480,000 pounds of ordnance dropped on target in a single strike package. The impact sequence was timed so that initial weapons created entry channels through the upper layers of protection, and follow-on weapons penetrated deeper into the facility before detonating. This is not dropping bombs and hoping they hit something important. This is engineering a sequence of detonations designed to systematically dismantle a hardened structure from the inside out. Iranian engineers who designed Natanz understood bunker penetration theory. They built multiple layers with air gaps to dissipate blast energy. They used reinforced concrete rated to withstand direct hits from conventional weapons. What they didn't account for was a weapon that doesn't try to blast through the protection. It penetrates, then detonates inside the protected space. The strike package took off from Whiteman at approximately 1600 hours Central Time on March 11th. Flight time to target, 17 hours. The bombers flew east across the Atlantic, rendezvoused with tankers over international waters, continued east across European airspace at altitudes above 40,000 feet, turned southeast over the eastern Mediterranean, refueled again, penetrated Iranian airspace from the west, approached Natanz from an axis that avoided known SAM sites, released weapons at Euro 347 local time, egressed Iranian airspace, refueled twice more over the Mediterranean and Atlantic, and landed back at Whiteman 34 hours after takeoff. The entire mission profile was planned to ensure that at no point were American aircraft vulnerable to interception or detection by Iranian defenses. That planning worked. Iranian air defense operates Russian-supplied S-300 systems around critical facilities, including Natanz. The S-300 is a capable system with engagement range out to 150 kilometers and the ability to track multiple targets simultaneously. It was specifically positioned at Natanz to prevent exactly the kind of airstrike that just happened. The system didn't fire because it didn't detect a threat, not because operators were incompetent, not because the radar was turned off, because the B-2's radar cross-section is below the threshold where the S-300 can generate a fire control solution. The system saw nothing to shoot at. By the time the bombs started hitting, it was too late to matter. Air defense systems don't stop weapons that have already been released. They stop aircraft before weapons release. The B-2s released their weapons and were already leaving Iranian airspace before Iranian air defense command centers even understood they were under attack. Here's what this means strategically. Iran has spent 2 decades building a nuclear program that Western intelligence agencies assess as being 6 to 12 months away from producing weapons-grade fissile material. The entire program was built on the assumption that deeply buried, heavily defended facilities would be difficult or impossible for the United States or Israel to destroy without using nuclear weapons. That assumption just got disproven. The United States demonstrated it can destroy any underground facility in Iran using conventional weapons delivered by aircraft that Iranian air defenses cannot detect or intercept. And the mission launched from the continental United States, which means it doesn't require forward bases, carrier groups, or allied overflight permissions. The B-2 flying from Missouri can hit any target in Iran at any time, with no warning and no realistic defensive counter. The psychological impact of this reality is devastating for Iranian strategic planning. Iranian military doctrine relies on the assumption that hardened facilities provide protection and time. Protection from conventional strikes, time to respond before facilities are destroyed. The Natanz strike removes both assumptions. There is no protection when the weapons penetrate 200 feet of concrete. There is no time to respond when the attack happens with zero warning. Iranian leadership now has to operate knowing that any facility they build, no matter how deep or how well defended, can be destroyed in a single strike that they will not see coming. That fundamentally changes the calculus of escalation. If you cannot protect your strategic assets, you cannot credibly threaten retaliation because the adversary can destroy your retaliatory capability before you know you're under attack. Let's talk about cost-exchange ratios because this is where the mathematics of strategic deterrence gets brutal. The B-2 bomber costs $2.2 billion per aircraft. The GBU-57 bomb costs approximately $3.5 million per unit. A single B-2 carrying 8 weapons represents an investment of roughly $2.23 billion in aircraft and ordnance. Iran's Natanz facility cost an estimated $8 billion to construct over 15 years. 2 bombers with 16 weapons just destroyed an $8 billion facility using $2.26 billion in assets. That's a favorable exchange ratio, even before you account for the fact that the bombers returned safely and can be used again tomorrow. Iran cannot rebuild Natanz in any time frame that matters. The tunnels are collapsed. The equipment is destroyed. The site is contaminated with debris and potentially unexploded ordnance. Even if Iran commits to reconstruction immediately, it will take a decade to restore the facility to operational status. The United States can strike again next week. Iranian officials will claim the attack changes nothing. They will state that Iran's nuclear program continues at other facilities. They will threaten retaliation. All of that is true, and all of it is irrelevant to the operational reality that just got demonstrated. Iran has multiple nuclear facilities, Fordo, Arak, Isfahan, all of them hardened, all of them defended. And now Iranian leadership knows that every one of those facilities can be destroyed the same way Natanz was destroyed, without warning, without interception, and with complete impunity. The existence of multiple facilities doesn't provide redundancy when the adversary can strike all of them simultaneously using bombers that you cannot detect. The United States operates 20 B-2 bombers. Iran operates 5 major nuclear facilities. The math is not in Iran's favor. The timing of this strike is not coincidental. It happens 2 weeks after Iran demonstrated its Fatah 2 hypersonic missile capability against Israel. Iran showed it can strike Israeli territory with weapons that Israeli defenses cannot intercept. The United States responded by showing it can strike Iranian territory with weapons that Iranian defenses cannot detect. This is not escalation for its own sake. This is calibrated demonstration that technological parity does not exist. Iran developed a hypersonic missile. The United States has operated stealth strategic bombers for 35 years. Iran's newest capability threatens one American ally. America's existing capability threatens every strategic asset Iran operates. That asymmetry is the message. The strike also happens at a moment when regional dynamics are shifting in ways that threaten American interests. Iranian influence in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen has expanded significantly over the past decade. Gulf states are hedging their security relationships with the United States. Regional powers are questioning whether American security guarantees remain credible. The B-2 strike is an answer to all of those questions. American strategic reach remains absolute. American precision strike capability remains unmatched. And American willingness to use force when core interests are threatened remains intact. This is not a message for Iran alone. This is a message for every regional actor, calculating whether to align with American interests or against them. Iranian air defense upgrades cannot solve the B-2 problem. Russia's S-400 system that was recently delivered to Iran represents the most advanced air defense technology available for export. The S-400 uses multiple radar frequencies, including VHF and L-band, specifically designed to counter stealth aircraft. Those capabilities work against fighter-sized stealth aircraft like the F-35 under certain conditions. They do not work against the B-2 for a simple reason. The B-2's radar cross-section is an order of magnitude smaller than the F-35, and its operational profile keeps it outside the engagement envelope of ground-based air defense systems. The S-400 might detect a B-2 under ideal conditions at close range. It cannot generate a weapons quality track, while the bomber is flying at 45,000 feet, releasing weapons from 30 kilometers away. The geometry doesn't work. Iran's options for responding to this strike are limited, and all of them are escalatory in ways that favor the United States strategically. Iran can launch missile strikes against American forces in the region, which would provide justification for broader American military operations against Iranian missile sites and command infrastructure. Iran can attack American allies, which would trigger security commitments that bring additional American forces into the theater. Iran can close the Strait of Hormuz, which would trigger an international response that Iran cannot sustain militarily. Or Iran can choose not to respond militarily, which would be an implicit acknowledgement that American strategic superiority is decisive. Every option is a losing option because the fundamental imbalance cannot be corrected through tactical responses. The world just watched the United States destroy a heavily defended facility 7,000 miles away using bombers that launched from American territory and returned safely without detection. China is watching. China operates similar air defense systems. The B-2 can strike mainland China from Guam with the same impunity just demonstrated over Iran. Russia is watching. Russia operates the same S-300 and S-400 systems that failed to detect American bombers. Russian military planners are calculating what B-2s could do to Russian strategic facilities. The answer is uncomfortable. North Korea is watching. Their underground facilities at Yongbyon would not survive American bunker penetrators delivered by B-2s. Their air defenses are less capable than Iran's. Share this because mainstream media is covering this as a successful military operation without explaining what it actually demonstrates. They're showing you footage of explosions and describing the strike as retaliation for Iranian actions. They're not showing you the strategic implication. The United States just proved it can destroy any facility anywhere on Earth using aircraft that adversaries cannot detect launching. From bases, adversaries cannot threaten. That capability existed before this strike. What changed is that it's now been demonstrated operationally in a way that every potential adversary has to account for in their strategic planning. The B-2 is not new. It's been operational since 1997. What's new is the willingness to use it against a peer competitor's strategic infrastructure in a way that removes ambiguity about American reach and American resolve. 7,000 miles, zero detection, total destruction. And the bombers are already home.